Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to yet another video. Thank you so much for tuning in. Very much welcome. For those who are new, thank you so much for tuning into Barbara Talks Politics. You guys, now I decided to record this video, you guys, as I've seen the story that there were those people who were in exile. I think the freedom fighters were in exile so many years ago, you guys. They passed away in other countries, something like that, countries like Zim and Zambia. And yeah, I mean, you guys, like decades ago. So what I see on the story, I think their remains were being brought to their home country, something like that, you guys. So I see where there was a kind of like a homecoming ceremony that was held on Friday afternoon, where these 42 remains of those people who passed away in Skatse apartheid, the activists who passed away in exile, were returned home, something like that, you guys. I saw this story going around, but yeah, today I'm like, let us do this story, you guys, because it is a very, very important story. So know the names of those people who passed away in exile fighting for freedom, you guys. There was a homecoming ceremony that was held here on Friday to welcome them home into Ekajalo, you guys. Yeah, I mean, it was held Lapanangase Freedom Park, something like that. These remains were repatriated from Zambia and Zimbabwe. So I'm gonna go through the story, you guys, because wow, it is another story. Hey, now a homecoming ceremony on Friday for the repatriated remains of anti-apartheid activists who died in exile was aimed at reinstating their nationhood, citizenship, and humanity, and to forever remember the sacrifices they and their families made for the country's democracy. 42 coffins covered in the South African flag were lined up at the Freedom Park heritage site as activists' names were etched into the park's wall of names in remembrance of their fight for liberation. The remains were repatriated on Wednesday from Zambia and Zimbabwe, where the activists died while in exile some nearly 6 decades ago. Can you believe that? So what we are doing is returning them to the land of their birth. We restore them to their families and to their people, said Ubaba Ramaphosa. We are pleased that their families are here because through this ceremony, we are also paying tribute to the families who went through a lot to anguish, pain, depression, and sadness over the years. Now we pay tribute to the families for having to go through all of that and sacrificed immensely. While the remains of 49 apartheid activists were expected to be returned, 7 were still undergoing the DNA testing. However, their families are from various parts of the country made it to the event, where they were welcomed and hosted by South African Defence Force ANC Secretary General Ubaba Mbalula, Sports, Arts and Culture, yes, Minister Babu Gayton Mackenzie, and former President Babu Thabo Mbeki, something like that. So yeah, I mean, you guys, these remains were of members of the ANC, its military wing, Umkhonto weSizwe MK, and the Pan-Africanist Congress PAC, who had to flee the country from the apartheid government, and that targeted them from challenging racial oppression. So again, I think they do have the list of their names there, you guys. They were Dumasile Dumanokwe, Florence Moposho, Todd Machikiza, Adolphus Boimbe Mve, Venon Mutli, Stanley Putimulefe, Philip Nkuma Jezile, Joseph Pakazie, Leslie Dube, Philip Mzandile Kumalo, Boyce Abutsibo, Mzandile Simon Dinzi, Hector Skumbuzo Nkula, Benet Mkwanazi Sibanyoni, Bethuel Tamana, Bimi Caesar Damani, Livingstone Hepson, Nkosi Teti Njamela, Ishmael Mahlomula Lwatle, Simon Ketla Maswanganye, Lindile Maneli, Mabe Class Bohosing, John Nyati Pokela, Basil February, Bafana Duma, Andrew Dukuza Mashaba, Ndi Luvuyo Gladstone, Mutsenyane, Johannes Sebata Tautau, Lucky Boy Theodore Ngubane, Aubrey Sipomdleje, Atwell Zikali, Aaron Tiro, Judson Diliza Kozwayo, David Lihlonolo Mukhobu, John Maru Lezolo, Edwin Makoti, Patrick Litlalo, Clayton Zile, Ngangula and Zondi Kajwa, Balungile Shembe, Madoda Myoli, Nostembiso Stanford Madikizela. This is the list of the names of 42 of them, you guys. Baba Ramaphosa said the country needed to know the names and appreciate the contributions made by these freedom fighters. Some of them are well known, such as former ANC Secretary General Advocate Dumanogwe, who was a prominent voice on the continent and around the world in support of democracy, said Ubabake Ramaphosa. It is perhaps a sign of his esteemed place in the history of the liberation movement that his remains were exhumed, still wearing the ANC scarf in which he was buried in Lusaka in 1978. I think Lusaka is in Zambia. Now, John Nyati was chairman of the PAC, who spent more than a decade in Robben Island for his activities as a member of the Azanian People's Liberation Army, then known as Upoko, I think. So he is remembered for the vital role he played in forging unity within the PAC. He passed away in Harare in 1985. I'm sure Harare is in Zimbabwe. Another prominent leader was Edwin Litsulo Makoti, who was the founding member and secretary for publicity and information in the PAC Central Committee when he died in Harare in 1989. We all know the name of Florence Moposho, a stalwart of the struggle, who is remembered for her commitment, sacrifice, and fiery spirit. She was a great leader of our movement and a pioneer in the struggle for women's rights. She helped us understand that no society can be free until its women are free. Another brave figure was Basil February, a member of the Lituli detachment of MK, who was killed in action in the then Rhodesia, Zimbabwe, now in 1967. We also welcome home the remains of Todd Machigiza, a composer, musician, and writer, a great renown and achievement. His music and his writing earned him much acclaim, but it also earned him the eye of the apartheid state, which banned many of his works and forced upon him years of exile. Machigiza died in Lusaka in 1968. And then I asked that we read out the names of these patriots for all our people to know them. Their names will forever be inscribed here at the walls of names in Freedom Park, so that we may never forget. Any nation that values its freedom holds its liberation heroes and heroines in high regard. Baba Ramaphosa said that the government was making every effort to preserve the country's liberation heritage. To do so, we must honor all those who authored this history by taking part in the struggle to free our country. This we must continue to do, because our freedom can never be taken for granted. That's what he said. We must continue to honor those men and women whose love for their country and its people motivated them to sacrifice their lives for a freedom. So yeah, I mean, you guys, these are the names, the list that I read of the people who passed away, you guys, decades ago in exile, fighting for a freedom, something like that, you guys. So there was a homecoming ceremony that was held on Friday afternoon, when their remains and then of these apartheid activists were returned home, something like that, given their respect and all that, honored. And yeah, I mean, you guys, this is the story that I wanted to share with you. Yeah, I mean, do us a favor by liking the video, subscribe, share, and I think it's a beautiful story for me, actually, for them and their families and all that, you guys. Yeah, your thoughts in the comment section. Then you like the video, you subscribe, you share, and then we meet again on my next one. Bye.